live on Zoom. But unfortunately, you all can't see this happening live in the action in the moment. But that's okay, because today's topic is innovation and connection, and nothing is going to hold us back against being innovative and connecting with all of you. I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity all week to join forces with the amazing professionals, Brooke and Joe. Thank you so much for being here every day this week, live on Facebook. Today, we're live on Zoom, and we will post it for all of you. We can't wait to hear your comments on today's topic. We're talking about innovation and connection. I can't remember who we decided to start with today.
Why don't you be innovative and think on your feet?
Brooke, I like how you're thinking. Take it away.
Well, Christina, Joe was supposed to start today, but I'm thinking on my feet. And I'm staying positive because that's what we're doing here. So we're talking about innovation and connection. And I know a lot of people are really looking at staying home as a space for us to create. And we talked about the growth mindset. So, what can we use this time for that we haven't really been able to use it for before? What have we not thought about that we can do to connect with maybe people, friends from other states, from other countries, our family members who in the day-to-day lives we're always so busy that we don't have hours during the day to, dig deeper and be that that dynamic family. So just a couple of ideas. I actually ordered on Amazon, believe it or not, they're still delivering a 1,000-piece puzzle. And my goal in the 1,000-piece puzzle is to put this on my kitchen table and to just start the puzzle pieces and my boyfriend, put some pieces together when he wakes up or when I wake up, and we all get to that, and then eventually create this beautiful puzzle piece that hopefully we can frame and put up and remember from these times, right? So that's just one idea. Tonight, I'm actually connecting with some girlfriends from New York. We're all going to get together on Zoom. It's one of my friend's birthdays, and I wouldn't have before most likely have had the opportunity to fly to New York. So we're all going to get together. We're going to go on Zoom. And not only are we going to catch up, but we're going to play some virtual games. So I was thinking maybe we could play like Ellen's Heads Up on our phone like this. And we could have teams. Everyone has a deck of cards, right? So we can maybe create some card games that we can all play at the same time. Things like that. So I just feel like this is a really good time for connection. And before we got live on Zoom, we were talking about how it's so nice for the three of us to connect every day. We are creating this new normal and this check-in, and we're like-minded people. So it's just interesting, all the things that you can create just out of an idea and go with it. Another thought that I had was maybe, take this time not only to connect with your family in, doing tasks like this, but perhaps creating like a family ancestry book. Like interview your family members, find out their stories, where they came from, and connect with other family members, put it together, and you can share it with your future children and grandchildren. And, now you have it, and you know that you did something that you probably would have never gotten around to. That's just my 2 cents.
Those are all amazing ideas, Brooke. Something I really connected with when you were speaking is that idea of connection and taking the time to do something that you wouldn't have done before. And I shared this story with you guys this morning before we went live, but just yesterday, my daughter and I were doing something really frustrating together. And I was like, oh, let's just sit together. We're sitting outside and just look up at the sky, like breathe in this beautiful environment and just sit in it for a minute. And then she said something really powerful. my daughter said, Mom, sometimes you just have to get mad. And she followed up with this beautiful example. She said, I was trying to open the side gate and I couldn't do it. So I got really mad and I just pushed it and it worked. And I was like, wow, how deep, how insightful. I didn't know that all this was in my 7-year-old daughter, where she could think so deeply and just have that powerful message that I needed to hear at that moment. I needed to know that, sometimes you need to get mad, and there is a time and a place for that. So it just bonded us together with this really special memory, and I'm so grateful to have this time with her.
I love that, because you're learning from your daughter during this time. Mm-hmm. How awesome is that?
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
And an opportunity that I think would have been difficult, right, to copy or to mimic in any other circumstance, right? Where you're kind of at home, just kind of lazily doing different things, and to have that organically kind of pop up is, I think, speaks to what we've been trying to get to throughout the week, which is taking advantage of those moments given the circumstances that we're in.
Totally. Joe, where are you right now? I want to be there. Talk about innovation. How can we where you are?
I am in front. I'll use the phrasing very carefully. I am in front of Yosemite National Park.
No. I hope you didn't fly there.
No. It's funny because the tapestry that I have, which is a picture that I actually took at Yosemite several years ago, I think in some ways feeds into a couple of the ideas that I've had, or how my brain has kind of been filtering how we were going to round out this week. And I love, Brooke, how what you were talking about in many ways was kind of outward facing in keeping those contact and communications and that innovation with friends, right? Having this puzzle with your boyfriend and having like a happy hour with friends that are abroad, that are in different states, and you're having them online and you're playing games. And for some reason, I think this is kind of a cool part of our chemistry, where we can all be thinking about the same thing, but in very different ways. I think my mind was more like internalizing it. And the place that I kind of landed on was this idea that we all know that there's like tremendous emotional, psychological, and just like overall benefits from artistic expression, right? It's why we emphasize it in school experiences with students and in psychological practices, why so many psychologists and psychiatrists will often go to artistic expression to start digging into where their patients are. So I've been thinking about how I wanted to frame this, and I think here's where I'm at. Something to consider, just a point of consideration for whoever it is that might be listening to this. Think about a long forgotten or maybe an unexplored artistic interest, right? From the last several months, the last couple of years, maybe from our lifetime. So it could be something as simple as picking up that old instrument from junior high or high school that we haven't looked at in 20, 30 or more years. Or maybe picking up that instrument for the first time that you've been wanting to pick up since you were in junior high. Actually, I was going to start throwing out some examples of like famous guitarists, and I was totally going to date myself. So let me not do that. Or it could be just setting aside 30 minutes and following along with a Bob Ross video, which I am committed to doing in the next couple of weeks. Like that is what I
painted that tapestry, huh? Some trees over here.
These are all, I guarantee you, these are all happy trees. They are all happy trees.
Everyone follow Joe Morales at Bob Ross on YouTube. It will be very calming.
Totally. It's going to be something. I'll show it to you guys when I have it done. I even saw this really interesting short Twitter video of this guy, and I don't know where he was. He seems like he was in the backwoods somewhere, because I think in the shot there was literally an outhouse next to him, and this seems to have been taken from like a drone. But this guy just like dancing, just dancing outside because he needed to dance. He needed to like get that expression out in these weird times that we're in. Or the last place that I kind of thought of where this might have some application is, picking up that home project that we've been putting off, or maybe just picking a space of your home or your apartment where you're like, you know what, I'd like to redecorate that space just to have it look a little bit brighter or a little bit darker. Maybe I want to repaint a room or something like that. And I think there's some freedom in the idea that there's literally like no limit to it. But the hope and the goal is to like engage that artistic side of us and reap the benefits and the rewards that we know are out there for them. So just something to throw out there in these weird little times, trying to figure out how we might tack on or approach or tap into that artistic side that maybe we've been negating a little bit or we've been downplaying or just kind of ignoring.
I love that, Joe. And I think that we all can really think about, if we take a second and visualize, and if we can't visualize, maybe like do a little bit of like brainstorming with writing, listing things or mind mapping, what it is that we've been putting off and getting started. And I think all of your ideas are super cool. I actually have a client who is taking a Spanish class right now. I have another client who's channeling her inner art and taking photos, and she's sending her friends. Talk about this. She's sending her friends and family members cards with her pictures on it during this time with a nice message in it. How awesome and connected and artistic is that?
And look at the number of people that are being impacted by her decision to do that. So she clearly, by the way you're describing it, she's in the flow. She is feeling like the benefits of this. And she's able to bring in her family and her friends where they're now receiving cards. Sure. Again, in this weird time. And who doesn't like receiving a personalized card with some little art on it? And look at all these people's lives who are being benefited from a small decision that probably isn't taking her a whole lot of time. And that she's getting joy out of that time.
I love that. And all of your ideas, I love. They all bring a smile to my face. But the executive function coach in all of us, right, are saying, how are we going to start in this, right? Because we have all these grand ideas and they're all possible. They are. And right now you're talking about like an idea and an end. And they're just like, where do we start, Joe? How do we get started? What's the very first thing that someone needs to do? And I know you said, okay, take 30 minutes or whatever, but how can someone say, all right, like I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do step 1. Then tomorrow, maybe I'll do step 2, and then hold themselves accountable with it so they can continue and carry on through that.
I'd love to hear, I have one that immediately pops into my mind. I'd love to hear Christina's thoughts afterwards. So one of the things that I found really successful with students, I don't work with many adults the way that you do, Brooke, so I love your perspective here. Mine is coming more from my work with students. But oftentimes what leads us to put things off, to procrastinate, is either thinking that something's going to take too long and it's like, I don't even want to start it, or something's so easy, I'll just get to it later, and we never get to it. So kind of a good strategy, an easy strategy, is a 5-minute goal. So something might take you, in your mind, 2 minutes to do. Something might take you 5 hours to do. Let's start with 5 minutes. Let's just set aside 5 minutes to see how much you can accomplish in those 5 minutes, and just leave it after 5 minutes. And maybe you've accomplished more than you thought, and you've finished an entire thing because it literally was that simple. Yeah. Or maybe you just kind of chipped away at it, but you've started chipping away at it. You now see that you've made progress, and you might be surprised in how much progress you make in those 5 minutes. So I think something as simple as like a 5-minute goal is a really effective way to just start.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. Everything you're saying, Joe, completely resonates with me. And that's pretty much how I get through life. Like, hey, can you just dedicate 2 minutes to this? And of course, as we all know, what can hold us back sometimes is knowing that 2 minutes sucks you in, and it can be 2 hours. So I think going into it with the expectation of anything you put towards this, any effort you can put, is time well spent. And don't get carried away or overwhelmed with the thought of 5 minutes is going to take 2 hours. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Joe says that all the time. It's okay. Just dedicate those 5 minutes. And like Joe said very eloquently, start. Above all else, just start. And whatever you get done is an accomplishment to celebrate.
Totally. And there's so many ideas as far as accountability that I could think of as well. So that getting started piece, Christina, Joe, you nailed it. But in ADHD land, body doubles are wonderful to help you get through things. And we may not have that physical body double of a person saying, come on, you can do this, whatever. But perhaps you can start a group chat if you don't have one already and say, okay, guys, this is what I'm up to. I'm getting started today. What are you up to? And motivate yourselves through that. Or share in social media on your story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And tie meaning to it too, right? So whenever we get bogged down into, oh, it's a menial task, those are the things we put off. Think about the why. Why am I committing 2 minutes to this? What is the outcome, the benefit? And maybe right there you decide, hey, this really isn't worth my time. I'm going to let that task go. And that can be really powerful too, right? So bring it back to meaning, bring it back to the why, think about the benefits and the outcomes of whatever it is that you want to get started on.
I love that. And the motivation, right? The why, if you think about the SMART goals, the R in the SMART is the why. But I actually heard Jeff Bezos say something really interesting the other day. It's like, we all think as like coaches and educators, why? Why are we doing this? But during this time, why not?
Yep.
So think about the why and the why not.
Good point, Brooke. Always bringing it home for us. Appreciate that. Well, thanks everybody. We won't keep you much longer. I really appreciate your dedication to watching us live, not live, on innovation and connection. I hope you enjoyed today's chat. Please do leave us comments. We want to interact with you. We want to connect. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you're thinking, what questions you might have, and we will definitely review those and incorporate it into our future talks. So,
Christina, before you sign off, are we thinking about going live again?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Brooke. We are. We are considering a weekly series because in these unprecedented times, we want to remain connected to each other and to you, and such positivity has come out of this. So let's keep it going. Let's keep talking. We're going to have a live YouTube channel where we will have all of these things available for you. More information to come, so please stay tuned. Coaching with Christina and Brooke is here to stay.
And Joe.
Did I just ruin that whole thing?
I think you're thinking of my company, Coaching with Brooke. That's so good.
Because we're going to post it there. So take two. Morning Joe with Christina and Brooke is not going anywhere.
No, it's perfect because I really am just a tag along here. So it's beautiful. You stated it perfectly. No need to go back. You nailed it the first time. Nailed the landing.
So good, you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.